Hey there, retail enthusiasts. I'm Isha, Dalal, Solutions Architect at AWS.
And I am Aman Sharma, Senior Solution Architect at AWS. We are joining you from Melbourne, Australia.
Welcome to Retail Insights with AWS, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of retail, uncover the latest trends, and explore how AWS is transforming the industry.
From the aisles to the cloud, join us as we dive under the hood with industry leaders and AWS retail experts. We will explore the latest trends in customer experience, supply chain optimization, data-driven decision-making, and more.
So grab a cup of coffee. You're logged into Retail Insights with AWS.
In this episode, we will explore how product development powered by AI is shaping the future of retail innovation, turning vision into reality in a way we could only imagine before. The journey of product development is one of the constant evolution shaped by changing needs, new technologies, and fresh ideas. From simple beginnings where products were crafted manually and innovation was measured in years, the pace has now accelerated dramatically. Today, AI is driving a new chapter enabling smarter design, faster iteration, and deeper insights into what customers really want.
Just as early innovators laid the groundwork with ingenuity and skill, today's product leaders are harnessing AI to transform how products are imagined and brought to life. Whether it's improving security, enhancing convenience, or simply making technology feel more personal, this blend of human creativity and machine intelligence is redefining what innovation means for retailers and consumers alike. It's a world where hardware no longer stands alone, but works seamlessly with intelligent systems to create experience that feels effortless and natural.
Over the past decades, product development has transformed. It's no longer a slow, solitary process, but a vibrant collaboration between human creativity and cutting-edge AI. This is the reality unfolding in 2025, where AI-powered tools act as code designers, spotting flaws before they become costly and optimizing for sustainability and accelerating product launches faster than ever before. Studies shows AI-driven design is transforming retail at unprecedented speed. Major brands are now developing and launching products 2x faster than traditional method alone. This AI agile approach lets retailers create smarter, more sustainable offering that adapt in real time to what customers actually want, not what they wanted 6 months ago.
So, how do you strike the perfect balance between tangible product innovation and cutting edge digital intelligence? That's exactly the strategy at the heart of the journey in consumer electronics, where decades of hardware expertise meet breakthrough AI-driven product development to redefine smart security and enhance customer experience. Joining us today is Alex Talevski, an industry and consumer electronics expert who has been instrumental in leading innovation and growth in this space. Alex has been at the helm of Swann Communications, driving its growth as a global leader in smart home security solutions. With his extensive experience in blending traditional hardware craftsmanship with AI integration, Alex brings invaluable insights into how these innovations are shaping the future of retail technology. So, let's jump right in.
Welcome, Alex. It's great to have you with us today. For those not familiar, could you please share a bit about yourself and your journey?
Sure. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here. My background is I have a bachelor and PhD in computer systems engineering a very long time ago. And then I spent more than 20 years essentially in CTO and most recently in CEO roles, developing technology, specifically relevant technology to industry and consumer applications. And my kind of forte and focus has always been in producing valuable, relevant, powerful solutions for these applications.
Yeah, exciting.
And just talking a little, you just mentioned about your recent role about the CEO, and I know you have been leading the whole home security space with the Swann Communications. Can you give us a bit of information about your that role, what you did, what are the technological evolution, and most importantly, the business model that goes, because it's a very different stream from the normal retailer space. How did you led that whole charge within Swann?
Yeah, it's one of, I started as a CTO 11 years ago and then moved to CEO role most recently. It's quite unusual, actually. In Australia, CTOs don't typically turn to CEOs, but I think the organisation as a whole was looking for tech leadership and creating a tech type company. And my vision for Swann and in general for most organisations has been that technology, especially the technologies we're going to speak about today, are really powerful and can transform the space. In the case of security, it's very much about transforming what has historically been a recording industry to one that's about active prevention through the use of AI and certain technologies, IoT technologies, to connect and reach further, but also actively prevent.
And have you seen, you mentioned that very limited people move from CTO to CEO role. Have you seen any difference in your day-to-day job? And what are the different challenges you might have seen in that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's unique because originally the only way I know to lead a team is the technology way, right? So I actually adopted that process across the organization. And it worked really well because all of those systems, tools, ways of running technology are applicable to companies. The interesting thing is that as problems become more and more difficult, just like in technology, the best way to solve them is to break them down into bite-sized chunks. And I very much thought about that is how do we solve very complex issues in a technology way? So it worked really well, both on the business side of things, but also on the technology development side of things. And the other thing is it's always very nice to have one way across an organization. Typically, in organizations, you run kind of the business in one way and then the technology in another. It just happens that the technology that we had developed and are using is so large and so complex that it mandates these tools and then these types of tools and processes, and these types of tools and processes apply well to business. So work well being a uniform system and one way of doing things, and the organization appreciated that. Yeah.
And you're bringing your agile methodology or mindset to your wider organization, from technology to the business side of it across all the different domains. Oh, good to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that concept, particularly in consumer electronics, consumer electronics is a super fast-paced world. And now, particularly with AI, it's a more fast-paced world. And, you do need to be agile. Yeah. There are very large players involved in this industry. And if you're not moving quickly and adapting specifically, pivoting whenever you need to or whenever you can or whenever an opportunity presents, you lose. So it was very much, let's move quickly in an agile way and realize the opportunities.
Yep.
Yeah, quite insightful. And Alex, many consumers, believe that they understand AI, and often they are using chatbots, developer tools, or other tools. So, how do you see a gap, surrounding around the AI and what AI can practically solve for everybody's life or everyday's life?
I mean, I think chatbots, it's only scratching the surface because fundamentally one of the biggest problems with using chatbots, and we all recognize AI, at least current AI, as the power comes from these chatbots, right? But actually the truth is most people don't know how to prompt engineer. And when they do prompt the chatbot gives a response as good as the prompt. And then inevitably you need to modify. Actually, you're getting the wrong guidance because simply you did not prompt well. It's only scratching the surface, seriously, because this is not the predominant power of AI. Where AI becomes more relevant is when it's doing those things in an automated way that you don't need to prompt it, that it's acting specifically to to what you intend or what you want, and it's doing it in an intuitive way.
Yeah.
And so if you are constantly needing to prompt and having challenges executing those prompts, then you're not really going to get the value of it. But if it actually is able to do these things autonomously and it produces value, then that's powerful. The key thing here, though, is you do need to put the boundaries around it. It's not a matter of just flick a switch and then everything is autonomous and very rosy. It certainly isn't. But chatbots alone, or even just the kind of tools that are floating around at the moment, is only a tiny fraction of the potential.
I completely agree to that, because that's what we are seeing with a lot of retailers as well. The power lies in how do you automate some of the space. And one of the area that's evolving is agentic flows, having more agentic flows across your business, and think about, or more importantly, rethink about how you have been doing the business and leverage AI to automate some of those processes using AI. Coming back to your experience at Swann, you have done such an amazing work with Swann Shield, Doorbell. Tell us a bit more about how have you used AI? Because one of the biggest challenges, how do you define your return on investment? Because that's the biggest challenge. There's been recent reports telling that 95% AI projects are failing, and there's a lot of buzz around it that it's not valuable, it's not useful. But how do you see, or because you have been among that 5% who have successfully launched AI projects and built a business around it, made profits around it, how have you done that at Swann Shield? And coming back from there is, what are the challenges you faced when you tried to do it?
Yeah, right. We certainly were successful deploying very powerful AI models. But, taking one step back, the fundamentals in introducing AI, certainly in my perspective, are kind of two key things. Number one is you need to be able to deploy them at scale, a very large scale, so that they can serve as highly as possible. And number two is that you need to allow them or enable them to actively do something. It's not just kind of record or take pictures of things that have passed. And so there's two fundamental things that in becoming a true IoT product. For me, IoT, there's this perception in the industry that, if you deploy a Raspberry Pi at the edge, that is IoT. It certainly isn't. That is equivalent to a PC living in some location. But actually, the challenges you're going to face is, how do you power it? How do you harvest that power? And the cost of that node itself. So you need to do two things. Well, deploy it at scale, at the edge, make it a battery operated, self-sustainable, and reach and have far greater reach farther. So that's number one. And we were fortunate in able to work with Wi-Fi HaLow and Morse Micro to establish these long-range connections. And then that enabled us to deploy this AI at the edge. And so then the second problem becomes, okay, so we are out there, we're quite far, and then how do and we have a reliable connection. Now, how do we enable this edge AI capacity? And so this becomes complicated as well, because where you're looking for many nodes, you're looking to drive the cost down. And so the adoption goes up, which in turn reduces its processing capacity, and it reduces its ability to perform AI. So you really need a fog concept. Essentially, it's partially AI at the edge AI, and then partially AI at the cloud. And you're looking to reduce the latency, but also improve the performance. So in one way, the product is looking to detect what could be a relevant event. It starts with people, so being able to detect a person is present. Perhaps that person requires service. It's a delivery. It could be a guest. It could be an intruder. So once you detect that person using AI at the edge, then you should reason about, what is this person looking for? And so that comes with two mechanisms. One mechanism is using generative AI to classify the scene. Okay, this is a delivery person because they're holding a package. And number two is being able to naturally speak to them. Yeah. And so there is this concept in industry that Well, if you just answer your doorbell remotely, you will actively prevent crime, or you'll deal with lots of scenarios remotely. The truth is, you just won't, because you're in a meeting, or your phone's on silent, or you're out of reception, and actually, in the worst cases, you're away from home overseas and you're sleeping, and so you're not answering your doorbell, and you're not answering it at the most challenging times, right? When it matters the most, when you're away and, family's without you. And so this concept came, well, what about if we could use generative AI to hold a natural conversation? As in, the person at the door could not determine whether that's a machine or a human, and that was sufficient enough to provide the amenities, so to receive your packages so you don't go to the depot to pick them up, or that you greet visitors and indeed prevent intruders. And so we embarked on a journey in late 2023 to develop a naturally conversational chatbot on an AI device at the edge. Mm. And it was just super challenging, right? Because to your point, the most challenging things are, how do you get such performance, in this fog concept? It is challenging because processing power is certainly not available. The cloud does provide that elasticity, and AWS was fantastic in enabling us to reach those goals. But then also, how do you keep that latency really low? So to hold a natural conversation, nobody's sitting there waiting, 30 seconds for a response. They're looking for a natural conversation. And so, we worked with AWS to really quickly deploy this. I mean, I think we started it sometime around 2023 in, August, and we had a working prototype for CES in January of 24. And then since then, it evolved to speak 101 languages naturally, and it can take any context and any scenario at the door. And it's a super powerful concept. It hasn't been without its challenges, but certainly I think this is the future of security, but also industrial automation.
I'm so glad you mentioned, and it's such a wide topic you mentioned. And to break it down for our listeners as well, you not just started by talking about the use of AI in the business, but also about how do you make sure at edge you're going to make sure the sustainability is there, the product is right, the latency is there. But when you talk about that particular product and looking at all those different elements that you need for durability of that product itself, but also about the voice AI, also about the visual AI, what is the consumer is experiencing. So I'd like to break this down in different topics today and explore more in each of them. When you talked about leveraging AI to deliver that, and to be honest, the fog concept, I learned from you. I had no idea there is such a concept of hybrid AI and where you can do it. How do you see that being evolving? Because that's very new. And I don't think so most people are aware of such concept, because usually building those Raspberry Pi, like you mentioned, they stayed for a DIY project only, right, like for one home and two homes, like people develop it. But to do it at scale, millions of customers, you have millions of customers, it provides security to millions of houses.
Yeah.
How do you do that? And what's that fog concept?
Yeah, there is an important idea here, and that is, democratization of AI. That, if you suggest to consumers or people in general that AI is about, getting a Raspberry Pi or a very expensive device and getting it out there and actually configuring it, very few people will be able to do that. It's expensive, it's complex, and it leads to outcomes that are not desirable, right? So for me, it's how do you deploy a device that gives AI to the masses at the lowest cost? So in the case of Swann Shield, we were able to retail a doorbell with this capacity without subscriptions, any subscription required. You purchase the doorbell and it has this ability to speak 101 languages for $89 in Australia, $59 in the USA. And at the push of a button, you get AI service. I mean, how much more democratized AI can you get?
That's very impressive.
So what it does is it enables these powerful use cases of, I don't need to know how to use AI. I don't need to code the AI. I certainly don't need to get a Raspberry Pi and make it do something. I push a button and it gives me AI service. That's true IoT and that's true AI. And so if we're able to do that at scale, not just in consumer, I mean, consumer applications again is scratching the surface of the potential of AI. But if we're able to do that in consumer applications, then we certainly can do it in industrial applications, and produce really powerful results. Not just, I mean, it speaks and it deals, but what does it do as a result of what it sees? You know, what are the triggers that it calls? You know, in the case of an emergency, does it call the authorities? Is it able to reasonably rationalize what is happening and provide evidence of that? Because at the end of the day, in a security application, calling the police and saying there's motion, nobody will go. In fact, in California, it's illegal for them to go. Professional monitoring applications are only with evidence. And if you don't have the evidence, or indeed that, you know, intrusion has already happened, the chances of you addressing that case is very slim, because, you know, your average robbery is 4 to 8 minutes. Certainly nobody could get there in 4 to 8 minutes, not practically, or unless you're very lucky. But if you're able to deal with it before it happens, and then these nodes or edge devices act, then it absolutely can have a really powerful response and application. Yeah.
Alex, developing AI at edge, which can operate securely, and it's essentially very important. But it become really challenging. When you develop AI for rural or locations where you don't have the full connectivity or limited connectivity. So like to understand from your experience that, what were some of the hurdles you overcame when you are developing AI solutions at edge for rural and remote areas where, it's hard to reach?
Yeah, topology is important. So one of the ways we reach further was using Wi-Fi HaLow and Morse Micro, a great Australian story in its own right. And that enables you to go 600 meters to 1 kilometer from a base station, and this is using full service 4K video and AI. So you certainly could deploy this at the edge and have a LAN first architecture, in that it does not necessarily need to go to the cloud. Now, in terms of a topology and the best way to deal with where connectivity is limited, outwardly connectivity, internet connectivity is limited, is simply a few things. You certainly can deploy a single device that is connected to the Wi-Fi. You can deploy a device that's connected to Wi-Fi HaLow, which is so critical to IoT, or where you feel that there may be connectivity issues out to the internet. Then there's a few things. I mean, you can provide a backbone, 4G backbone, Starlink backbone, Amazon Kuiper coming very soon. So these backbones, and we certainly will work with Amazon to deploy that. That gives you one chance. The other way is that you can use a gateway, an intermediary. So where you need some greater processing than each camera can provide, or certainly should provide because of the cost of deploying it to the edge, a gateway or intermediary can do some of that grunt work. So you deploy AI chips in a gateway, and it can propagate this fog concept in that there is a halfway house. So we've done all of those topologies, and indeed the backbones that I spoke about. So yeah, that enables it in agriculture, industrial, but also there is this perception that you just make everything 4G. Well, 4G is not available everywhere, or you make everything Starlink. Well, you don't necessarily have a view of the sky, and so you do need to deal with the specific applications and adapt, and give options. Give options that not all things are cookie cutter. You need to specifically tailor the solutions to the demand.
Yeah. Wonderful. And Alex, working with your team, I have seen that you are launching feature at a great pace. So can you share for the audience, I mean, what is like, going from prototype to production? So generally, how much time it takes with the tools you have, with AI and generative AI. So is it able to fast track your pace of innovation? Could you share some
Yeah, we
stories.
push it pretty hard. So and you have to my point earlier that, you know, the industry, particularly with AI, is moving so quickly that if you don't push that kind of, you don't have that agility that we've tried to instill through the organization, and you don't push hard, that you're kind of left behind. So we've brought, you know, from a concept to a production grade service within, you know, 3 to 6 months. Which is unique. I don't know, listeners and the demographics that are listening, but in our industry, that is quite quick, and we did well in that. But then even products, you know, from a concept to mass production in something around 12 months is absolutely possible.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to do this to realize the opportunities, because, you know, you have an idea and perhaps this brings new applications and new you know, services or products. Then you have to push. And, you know, AWS has been fantastic in that we kind of work in that methodology and kind of adopted it, loved the pace, I guess, and then we heads down and just super capable people, right? And so our solutions architects and our teams and TAMs and all this is that we're able to take the story and the vision and help us realize it. And you know what? Often it may not be in-house, and sometimes it was third parties that partners, AWS partners that came on board that kind of solves certain parts of it. Because, you know, when you're developing a product or a service, there's no one problem. There's hundreds, if not thousands of issues that you have to solve, and having various parties and help and things like that was essential to bringing it to, you know, to reality.
Yeah, we at AWS always love a successful customer story who are inventing and innovating, always being part of their DNA. More so, one of the things that I do like about your organization is that you are very much customer obsessed. All your features, products that you're launching is not because you want to do something new, but it's because you want to make the life of your customer very easy, so that if, like you mentioned, if they can't hear the doorbell and can't respond, there's a voice AI to respond to it. So like those sort of things, and making it durable, making it energy efficient. You mentioned that you use the Wi-Fi HaLow to make it sure that they don't have to worry about the 4G, the Starlink, like all that. So it's easier for them. It all comes back to how you do your product development, right? How do you sustain? So what are the thought processes or challenges that comes to you when you think about, like, not from just from the technology perspective, but from the business perspective, because it's a product that you need to launch in market. Retailers always struggle with the margins, making the right profit with the right market pricing, and make sure that you have the R&D there, innovation there, and invent. So my question would be, like, in product development, how do you keep innovating and making sure that you are solving the right problem?
Right. It's ironic, actually. I mean, my background is technology, and I'll always be a technologist. But it's ironic for me to say this, but technology for technology's sake is no good. You know, you absolutely can produce amazing demos, and you can produce amazing, engaging stories. But if it doesn't work, if it's not practical, if it's not pragmatic, right, it just won't be adopted, and it will not make a difference. So really, I like that you said that, you know, customer first. You really need to understand, what are you trying to solve? What is the problem? Because you can easily, particularly with AI, you can easily say, hey, check this out. It's an amazing, you know, powerful tool. And yeah, people are genuinely impressed. But then it doesn't stick, because yeah, it's an amazing tech demo. So if you, for it to work, you need that customer obsession. But you need to understand what is the practical application and what is the value that product brings. So start with a pain point. What is the pain point, right? In the case of security, it's pretty simple, that you feel, you don't feel safe, right? You need that one, the feeling of safe and the actual safety that it can provide. And so if that's the case, that you're not able to monitor, you know, many people kind of saying, well, I've got the cameras out there and they're monitoring. They need to monitor really well, because most of the time when it matters most, you're sleeping. So you're not monitoring it, it's monitoring itself. And so if you don't make those devices, if you don't transform those devices for what historically was a recording device, and many examples of that exist. If you go on YouTube, you'll find thousands of examples of really bad things happening on cameras, right?
Yeah.
But this is really unfortunate because it already happened, right? So having your camera recording it maybe make you feel slightly better by knowing what exactly happened, but it happened.
Yeah.
And so if you do not get those devices to actually prevent it, or if you don't see that opportunity, that's when you lose. And I think that for us, it's very much been about how do we actively prevent. So then the cameras must be able to reliably detect, not detect people, because people detection is weak. I mean, look, we're in society, there's people. That doesn't necessarily mean that these are threatening people. They're just certain applications of people. What you really want to be doing is actually, in the case of security, detecting a threat. And a threat is a really complex thing to classify. It's not, what is a threat? You know, is it a person with a balaclava or a knife or a gun, or what is that? And so using generative AI allows you to infer or reason about the same. Well, if you do have a reasonable, reliable detection, then look to validate that, whether it's through humans or actually authorities or whatever. But if you do that soon enough, early enough, far enough, right? You do it at the fence, not at the door, not at the porch. So if you do it soon enough, early enough, and reliably enough, you have a real chance of preventing it. Now, I can assure you that to a consumer is 50, 100 times orders of magnitude more valuable than a recording. So if you're able to, one, develop that technology and deploy that technology, you represent real consumer value.
Yeah.
Expanding on that, I understand everything you mentioned around the importance of it, but there are some genuine concerns around the misuse of that technology, because that's always comes with technology or any new thing that's coming into the market, that yes, you need those cameras, those relatively important stuff in day-to-day life, because that's the fast-paced way we are working. But there is a genuine concerns around the misuse of those recordings. How would you address those concerns?
Yeah, so the first thing we should all think about is that cameras are far better as sensors than recording devices. Because as I said, recording is something in the past. So what you really want them to be is act as sensors and not necessarily record. Now, for most cases, consumers also want to record, but even industries also want to record. So you can go back even where the event was mitigated to see what happened, so that you can put, I don't know, other provisions in place. But I understand the concern, because now there's video of you and your loved ones and your family and friends and business and associates and things that exist to enable those technologies and indeed to record those things. So fundamentally what you need to do is hold the data in the region. So number one, be GDPR compliant. This is a very important concept, so that consumers and businesses must understand that data is not going to go elsewhere in different jurisdictions with different laws and things in place regarding the data. So GDPR compliant. Number two is to encrypt all data, in that both in storage and in transit, mm-hmm. so that data is very specific to an individual and can only be accessed by that individual. And then finally, where even that may not be applicable or desirable, all these things, just provide local service, that it doesn't even necessarily need to be sent. And it's the hybrid of those methods and ideas that will deliver trust, but also deals with this data appropriately.
Yeah. And Alex, you operate in multiple geos, Asia Pacific, Europe, and US. So how you bifurcate and keep data for security appliances? So what's your framework for Swann here?
Yeah, so each region and geography has its own infrastructure and instances of that infrastructure on AWS, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then all regions follow that logic. Data is encrypted in transit, is encrypted in storage, is only used by the user, and indeed they're in full control. So they can, of course, clear and delete it, and it only lives for a certain period of time. Particularly with these events, having history for months on end is not really relevant, although we do support it where the consumer is looking to have that. For the most part, you're kind of dealing with very near-term events, and then that data does not need to continue to exist, so it's destroyed, right? And it lives in the appropriate regions and specific to the consumer.
Yep, wonderful. And Alex, visual intelligence, when we see it, I mean, it's the heart of your smart solution, what you and your team is building. And it also enables, cameras, to operate and scale and, operate smartly. So how do you see computer vision as a technology evolving, in last few years and transforming what currently you are building?
Yeah, that's the one. Visual is the key. So, I mean, now we have cars that steer around the streets simply using the visual spectrum, right? A Tesla does not have radar or sonar or LiDAR detectors. It's cameras. And it's the visual spectrum. It's what we see, the cameras see, right? So you're able to navigate complex streets and scenarios and people and cars and things really well, So cameras are the ultimate sensor. So being able to deploy a camera means that it's versatile. It can actually detect very many things and very many relevant things, and it can actually act. So fundamentally, there's a few things to IoT and the future of IoT that are very important. Number one, cameras. I think cameras are the foundation of the power of AI. So being able to deploy many cameras at low cost at the edge and have the pipe to deliver that data to those cameras and have playing the fog concept and indeed to have the cloud connectivity is essential. And then the cameras themselves being able to reliably live at a distance, self-sustainable, energy harvesting like solar powered is another fundamental piece to the vision story and vision AI story. So you detect sooner, or at least detect where you need to detect. And then being able to classify. The visual spectrum gives so much data and information. It's not about object detection. It's about activity detection, right? You can easily object detect, as I said before, and just say, there's people. But actually that generally is not useful. It's what the people are doing that is useful, or what the scenario represents that's useful. And often it's not even people as well. And so having that AI capacity to process the scene and what's happening in the scene as in the same way that cars drive themselves around the streets and navigate complex scenarios is a powerful idea for industrial automation. It's a powerful idea for consumer applications as well.
So it's not just the visual, it's the context in those visuals that you drive the right value, whatever you're trying to do, like from that visual element. Right. So I know we keep mentioning about the leveraging technology and AI specifically, but this space is evolving so much. Like every other week, there is a new model out there. Every other week, there is a new LLM that's coming out with much better outcomes. And there's a concept of like small language models as well coming up, like all these different ways. How have you compared within your organization as well? Like, what is the right LLM for you?
Yeah.
How did you compare those? How did you make sure that the trade-off between the cost and the efficiency and the security, like how did you do that? What are the things that you considered when evaluating the right LLM or the right AI technology for your product?
Yeah, be agile is my answer. So the number of inferences that we process, it's over 1 billion a month, right? It's very, very, very large. And of course, it makes sense because if you deploy many cameras in the millions, and of course they detect 20 to 100 times a day, then you have very many inferences and a lot of processing that's required. And of course, part of the challenge is, well, if you multiply any number by 1 billion, it's still a pretty big number. So cost is, of course, one consideration. The other consideration is latency. Is that okay? So if it takes a very long period of time to process any given scene or deal with any given scene, then it may no longer be relevant. So we benchmark often. I would say we're when AWS releases a new model or an upgrade to a model, I would say we're the first to test it at great scale. Is because we look at the old model, we look at the new model, and then make sure that it has relevant performance. Because in certain applications, large language models can be so powerful and can do so many things, but actually you don't want them to do so many things. Yeah. You need to put the appropriate guardrails and distill that large language model to the application you're looking for. So what that gives you is it reduces the cost. Number two, it reduces the latency, and then it has a more applicable. So we test often, we compare often, and where we're able to make a move, we make it really quickly.
And have you set up like a pipeline to evaluate these different LLM? What are the different frameworks you have used to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we A/B test very, very frequently. We use traditional CI/CD approach to deploy and test different things. We have an autonomous test suite as well, so we can of course rerun the tests we did on the last model versus a new model, and then kind of look at the properties. Look at, was it fast? Was it low cost? Were the responses or the classifications appropriate? And you can easily benchmark that once you have a test suite, sufficient data. You're able to benchmark that.
Yeah. I think plus one to that, working with your team, Swann is the first customer. When we launch a model, anywhere in US or ANZ, you are the first one to try that, all the way from Anthropic to Amazon to Llama model, and you guys are expert in prompt engineering and fine tuning those models.
Yeah, I can tell you, we push the boundaries of these things many times, and yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good 100%. because we both kind of develop together and learn together and adapt. I think that when certain things don't work, that's technology, and they're not always going to work. But if you understand the problem, apply and be agile, you'll sort it out.
But we also learn from customers like you when you test our boundaries that where else we need to improve, what are the features and additional capability we need to add to our services to make sure that customer like yourself can scale it as well. So no, very interesting. One important aspect I want to talk about is when you create these products, how did you, it's really great conversation from technology perspective. How do you translate that to your consumers so that because they don't need to worry about all the different complex technology that you are implementing behind. All they care about is it's working, it's giving me what it's saying. How do you translate that in a simplified messaging to your customers?
Yeah, you address the pain point. You have to address the pain point. There's no point saying AI. Virtually every product these days says AI on it. Even when it's not AI, it's simple logic. It's not AI at all. But you need to address the pain point. For example, our HaLow technology says longest range, maximum security. So the idea is to essentially say, well, if you detect sooner, you've got a better chance of addressing it. Pretty simple idea. It just means detect sooner, detect further. And so that's one. And then when it comes to Swann Shield, is that, talk to visitors at the door. So we called it, an AI assistant, but actually really it's a concierge, right? It's this virtual concierge. It's just, greeting visitors, receiving packages, deterring intruders, and so many other cases. So it's that message, that's passed on that is relevant to the consumer. There's no point talking tech. Or these days, we'll put that it's AI powered, but it's so frequently used now because it is a powerful marketing tool, I guess, that it's almost irrelevant. It's like, what does the AI do that's relevant, that's more powerful than the fact that there's AI?
Yeah. And Alex, at Amazon, we have some sort of mechanism when we need to launch a feature, we do PR FAQs. We generally ask 5 to 6 questions to understand customer, what they need, pain points and all that. So like to understand, how you craft your business use cases and features what your customer needs and what sort of mechanisms you have, so that you are kind of launching features which essentially resonate with your consumers.
Yes. So us, the most important thing is this ability to adopt the latest and greatest. So whenever, even if it's in development, if we have a heads up that this is coming and maybe in alpha, that's fine. I think it's understanding what's coming to then be able to rationalize it. And sometimes it's just not something that we can use, but sometimes it absolutely is. And often you need to stay ahead of it as well, because once it's available, if you start development then, and as I said before, it might be 3 to 6 months or 6 to 12 months, depending on product or service, but it takes time. And, you got to get ahead of it. So knowing, for us, what's important is ideating. I mean, we spoke before the show about, workshopping ideas. Let's workshop these ideas. We may not have an answer now, but certainly having a heads up and availability of a service, or at least driving the narrative of the future service, may mean we'll have an answer later. So I think that's the most important part.
So I'm just going to wrap around. You're not just leading a global company like Swann Communication, moving it from locally Melbourne to global across different countries, but you're also helping the next generation. You are an adjunct professor at La Trobe University. Would love to know, what are the stories or lessons you have from there, and what inspired you to pass on this knowledge to the next generation? Because often I feel like the colleges and the university, they need to listen from the industry experts like yourself to get the latest update, what's happening, what the real life challenges are, so that they can inspired, they get those ideas and they learn as well. So can you share a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, when I graduated, so long time ago now, but I just remember going out into industry and feeling I'm not ready. And a lot of it is because, industry moves quite quickly. And I thought industry moved quickly then. Imagine now, right? It's so much more rapid, particularly with AI and what we've been speaking about. Things change really quickly, and what were relevant topics and subjects and founding kind of studies are no longer as relevant as they used to be, because many of those things are automated, or many of those things have evolved. So I felt that it's really important to give back and also work with university. I mean, I graduated at La Trobe, so going back to La Trobe and working with the team there to make sure that what La Trobe is working on is relevant, powerful, but also enables, the next generation, because we all need these resources, and it's more important now than ever. To jump in and address these challenges and issues. So making sure that we're aligned, that we're delivering the appropriate students, but not just students and graduates, but also the tools and mechanisms and knowledge. And I think that's where, AWS is also really important, is bringing those things for them to have experience out of the gate. There's no point coming out and go, oh, by the way, none of those services that or none of the things that you were learning are relevant, but here's a number of services you need to learn. It's almost like starting from scratch. So it's putting those things in to bring in the next generation, which will hopefully do so much better.
Now, I remember when we were in college, we always feel the worry that should I learn Java? Should I learn C++? Should I learn Python? Like, we don't know what's out in the market. We don't know is programming is the only thing. Like, now being in tech space, we know programming is not just the only thing. There's it's a heap, its own universe sort of a thing. But no, thank you for leading the charge and helping those next generation, and also helping us out. Like, we learn a lot of things from you, and that's the whole reason we do this podcast, to learn from industry leaders like yourself, your experiences, and share that across as well. Thank you so much for coming to the podcast today.
No, thank you. I love it. Yeah, I love it. Enjoy it. And would always help. And I think that's the key. Hopefully it's helpful for the audience as well. And let's push it forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a powerful discussion with Alex. Today really underscored how the fusion of AI and traditional hardware expertise is driving a new wave of innovation in retail product development, changing how we secure home, protect families, and deliver seamless customer experiences.
Absolutely, Aman. In retail, innovation is no longer just about products. It's about creating smart ecosystem that anticipate consumer needs, react in real time, and deliver personalized, trusted experience. Alex's journey shows that success lies in embracing AI as a strategic enabler to transform not just technology, but the entire retail business model.
For retailers and tech leaders listening, the message is clear. Embrace the AI driven product innovation is not optional anymore. It's essential to stay competitive in rapidly evolving market where personalization, sustainability and agility define leadership.
If you are ready to accelerate your innovation journey and unlock the full potential of AI in retail, explore AWS's tailored solutions and expert insights at aws.amazon.com/retail. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be back soon with another episode exploring the latest trends and innovations shaping the retail industry. Stay tuned.
Thank you.